Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome along to episode 111, I knew that, of the Sofamanager Scottish Football Podcast. After a few weeks on hiatus, we have been stacking up the content, and we'll exclusively be talking about what's happened in the last week. So, we will be talking about the last weekend's Old Firm Derby, the interesting events surrounding that, a certain water bottle, some fans being turned away, and some comments by some politicians as well, which John has mentioned to me. We'll also be talking about the Scotland-Greece game. This will probably come out just before the second leg on Sunday, so we'll date very quickly. But I've seen a few podcasts recently with some bad takes, particularly about Newcastle United, that have aged very poorly after their cup win. So we'll try not to echo those predictions. John has also been on a very popular and exciting ground hop, which we'll discuss. I don't imagine many of you will have done this last weekend, but nonetheless. Have I missed anything there, John? The Championship?
Yeah, it's probably the other thing we would kind of talk about today.
Yes. Anyway, joining me this week is our new tour operator, experimenter extraordinaire. This is John. Hello, John.
It's Bruins on the buses.
Bruins on the buses, there you go. I think there's money to be made there. Exciting week for you. Started with the Newcastle result on, was that Sunday, this cup final?
Yeah, Sunday, yeah.
Sunday, very busy day of football. First trophy in 50 years. I think we need to speak about that as well, actually.
Yeah, probably touch on that for sure.
Indeed. And about to see your team win the championship potentially. So
fingers crossed.
From supporting the most miserable teams in the country, you've gone to being a bit of a glory hunter these days, it would seem, eh?
Yes, this is it. Charlton win the championship.
Oh well. Did you see on social media their programmes, by the way?
Yes.
That if you buy them all, they make a Charlton Football Club badge by looking at the team orders. Very clever. And myself, Paul, didn't watch Sports Scene last week because Aberdeen drew with St Johnstone. So, let's get straight on with things, shall we?
Let's do it.
Right, John, you're driving the bus, as you say. Where are we starting this week?
I think we should do it before I get ages too badly, the Scotland game.
Okay, I was not sure where you were going with that statement. Okay, Scotland game. I watched the first half, very much fell asleep for the second half. Better than I thought it would go.
Yes, I think that is the consensus.
Yes. Now, should that have been the result?
Well, at worst it was 0-0 because that was never a penalty in a million years for us. Now, he was in possession of the ball. He fell over the ball.
Well, but he fell over the ball and then got kicked by the Greek player. So if he hadn't fallen over the ball, the Greek player probably would have tripped him up. So what I was about to say was he was in possession of the ball but not necessarily in control of the ball.
Yes, reckless and out of control on all fronts from all parties.
If VAR ever had a little bit of time to look at something... Now, to be fair, I think it is justice done because they were Moaning McMoan faces that entire game.
They were as bad as the Italians were in, what was that, 2007,
yes.
In terms of jumping about all over the place. The amount of, to be fair to the ref, he called out a few of them.
Yes.
He wasn't suckered into it.
We got a few good fouls early on.
I think he
set the tone.
He knew straight away what was up. He knew the kind of style that was going to be put in front of him. He was conned into, I can't remember who it was, and they did get booked. That was the only one that was a bit dubious. However, as you can say, I still think we were worth the win. Just about, I think.
I mean, again, from my experience of the first half, there were some good moves going forward. Che Adams had an open goal to look at one point, decided to hit it straight back at the keeper. But he was getting past people, and I was like, whoa.
He looks a different player.
Totally different player.
He actually looked quite strong. He was, certainly when he's been playing for Scotland in the past, to me, he stays quite central. He was drifting out wide a little bit more.
Yeah.
And picking up the ball. I thought, wow, this guy's like a completely different player. Wow, who's this guy? I completely forgot it was Che Adams.
I know. I thought he was injured, actually, so it was a nice surprise. Don't know how Lyndon Dykes felt about doing the punditing later on about this, because he's like, "Your shot, son."
I mean, the quite funny thing about that is with George Hurst now being kind of registered and now playing for Scotland.
Yes.
He is the new Lyndon Dykes. So I don't expect to see Lyndon Dykes in a squad again, unfortunately.
Interesting that he got a go. Because I know that they did say in punditry that Steve Clarke's not one for handing out handicaps willy-nilly. In the forefront of my mind was the Craig Gordon testimonial, which then retrospectively
Encore.
Yeah, exactly. He's kept going. So after the worst Scotland performance of his life, Craig, we're going to need you back for a wee while longer. So yeah, interesting that he got a run out. By that point in the game, there's not really much to feed on.
No, I think it was very much just hold up the ball as much as you can for that kind of thing, and particularly bringing on, what was it, Max Johnson and Kieran Tierney to play in front of the two fullbacks who already had on the park to finish in a back six. But to be fair, I thought we defended incredibly well in the second half. We looked really organised. They had, I'm kind of working from memory, I think it was 24 shots, but only one of them on target.
They were mostly not dangerous.
Most of them kind of like just pinging for the edge of the box and sailing for 3 points. And that side of things, I thought we looked a lot better than we have done previously, which is tremendous. Grant Hanley actually looked decent, even though he nearly gave away a penalty. But
with a Scotland centre half, that's what you're always going to expect.
It was a well-timed challenge.
Well, they gave away a clumsy penalty themselves, so 50-50s.
This is it. But even like sort of guys like John Souttar, Ralston looked really comfortable. Like
he's played more minutes for Scotland this season. That's mental.
It's almost impossible to believe. Like
how has he not got himself a move? What's he doing at Celtic? Why? Like, I don't think he's not even used in reserve, really, is he? Oh, clearly not, if he's not played any minutes. So couldn't he have punted himself to some middle Scottish team in January or something like that?
Maybe.
You're not going to get the salary, I suppose.
Well, it's the salary, and I think if you're playing for Celtic and you're still Steve Clarke as the Scotland manager, he's pretty much guaranteed a call up. So it's a win-win.
Well, young'uns, if you're out there, learn how to play right back, and you're pretty much guaranteed to be a Scotland international.
Be good enough not to get let go, and don't be good enough to have to play every week and be tired.
There you go. There you go.
Just turn up for your national team.
And we're calling up 18-year-olds now, so
this is it. Yeah, the best in the world in a few months.
Well, you never know. These like Lennon Miller.
What did you think about that?
What?
His comments about wanting to be the best in the world.
Lennon Miller.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Go for it, exactly.
And I think they said the same in punditry, in that you've got to believe in yourself. And to be fair to the lad, he's already got more games under his belt than most veterans, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's in that squad day in, day out, and why can't he go on to get to the level of McGinn, Robertson, Tierney and co?
Exactly.
Because they basically went through the same sort of, you're at some random central Scotland team in St Mirren, Queen's Park, Motherwell, it's all it's all the same. I certainly think he's going to go further than his dad.
Yes, by some margin, I think.
Yes. So yeah, good for him. Love it. We're not that, that's not a mentality we've ever had. Especially the national team, we're not used to dominating games. We're actually not used to being at the sharp end of football like we are now. I think we still have a lot to learn with regards to tournament football.
Oh, big time.
And I do think we just see it as achievement to get there and then immediately check out with no hope of any other. But even in that Group A, there was more that we could have got from that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back right to the very start, and obviously mentioning Hanley giving away penalties, even if we had got a draw out of that game, we could have very well been playing in the kind of playoffs to actually go to this kind of weird tournament they play in the summer.
Yes.
So it's fine margins. I mean, the kind of follow-up question regarding these kind of fixtures is it in our interest to actually stay in the top league?
From a fan interest point of view, yes.
Yes, because we get much better games.
You get much better games. And we've spoken about the quality of friendlies we tend to put in, which are next to useless.
The Iceland game coming up in particular is
totally useless.
Bizarre.
And at the end of the day, when you go to the World Cup, you are not playing Gibraltar. You are not playing Iceland. And he moaned about that last time, didn't he? That the way the World Cup's different or something like that. So, and actually to see that, yes, we can stand up to Croatia. Yes, we can stand up to Portugal. Must be a huge amount of confidence. To them. Now, does that mean you're less likely with all the shenanigans of getting into playoff places to get qualification places, etc.? I think so. But you should be doing that through other ways. I think you just have to go out and try and win every game, don't you?
I think so, particularly for where we are in terms of seedings. It just has to be done for the World Cup qualifiers. Because I think the next Nations League groupings will be for Euro 2028.
Yep.
So obviously we'll be hosting or being a co-host to that.
So
I'm not too sure how that's actually going to work in terms of automatic qualification or whether we're going to end up in some kind of weird group anyway, where it's like the UK and Ireland top 3 go through, or how that'll kind of work.
I think the reality is there's a big gap in the squad, age-wise as well. So potentially this is the last big campaign with your big stars at any competitive level.
Yes, I think I'm not massively good on kind of ages, but I would imagine a lot of these guys like McGinn, Robertson in particular, these guys are going to be kind of like early 30s probably.
Yeah.
By the time the next Euros come around next kind of 3 years. So this is actually probably quite a good opportunity to start seeing whether Lennon Miller's good enough, whether George Hurst is maybe a good enough striker to kind of take us over the next 3 or 4 years, whether someone like Max Johnson is going to be a better kind of right back opportunity or option I should say than someone like Nathan Patterson, who
forgot about him.
Sort of prior to injury was being absolutely harangued. Is Aaron Hickey going to come back the same player after all his injuries?
Forgot about him.
He could end up being a kind of Tierney type where you see him for an hour and he's injured. You know,
he has struggled in a Scotland shirt a wee bit as well, I would say.
A little bit. He's not had a huge amount of experience, but nevertheless. So it's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see who else he manages to kind of unearth. Because I had no idea George Hurst would be appearing in this squad.
No, not at all.
So, and the goalkeeper as well, forget his name. So, it'll be a wait and see job. I think it'd be nice to stay in League A to kind of circle back to my original question.
Yes, absolutely.
It'd be nice to stay in there for those kind of high profile fixtures, at least for a little bit longer, and then we do have to kind of start thinking about coefficient and maybe dropping down or see how we go on. Maybe we'll develop into the new Croatia. Who knows? Like, be confident.
Well, does Croatia get a man sent off early on?
I think they did. I think that's
why.
Against us they did. I
think that's why we had a bit of joy against them.
Half an hour in or something like that.
So Sunday, what are you predicting?
I think it'll be a narrow win for us, to be honest.
Okay,
another 1-0 win probably.
Okay, I'm going 0-0. Again, that might have aged like bad milk. So we will wait and see. Keep our fingers crossed. We are indeed going.
Yes, we are
indeed. So.
Fun.
Despite the fact that Paul's partially pulled the plug on his support of them. But nonetheless, should be a good time. So, Old Firm now?
Why not? Let's dive in.
Watch the second half. And I think this was very much a tale of two halves, wasn't it? Like Rangers smashing at the first half, Celtic smashing at the second half.
Yes, I mean, it was the best of times and it was the worst of times.
When I watch these games, for no real reason, I am pro-Celtic. Because of all the shenanigans that has gone on with Rangers in the past.
Yeah, I mean, it's in a weird way. Am I the same? To be honest, I don't really care. But it's one of those things, the more Celtic keep winning stuff, the more disenfranchised Rangers becomes.
Yes.
The more it becomes a one-horse race, the more it actually starts to implode in Celtic, and that the interest in that club diminishes because they're not in a challenge.
Yes.
In a really weird conspiracy way, that's how it goes.
Yes.
As a one-off spectacle, though, I thought this was absolutely brilliant.
It was a great game.
It was really, really good.
Yes.
I thought Rangers were brilliant. I thought their press on Celtic in the first half, like, completely took Celtic by surprise.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what they were expecting, but it was right off the bat, right on top of them. Celtic couldn't cope.
It was fascinating because that day there was two very similar fixtures, and that when Newcastle played Liverpool, they'd also played European football that week.
Yes, yeah.
Also at home as well.
To PSG.
Now they got beat, obviously. So Celtic didn't have any midweek fixtures, so you think going in with a fresh legs, very much theirs to lose.
Particularly because they're so close to winning the league as well. You're thinking, like, this is a great opportunity to really rub their nose in it, basically.
Stick the knife in. Like, Rangers have no hope. You know, that is done.
Big time.
I think they're done in the Europa League as well. Or that's what Mourinho's saying, because the final's in Bilbao. They play Bilbao next. So he's like, if you're getting any refereeing decisions off that, then, you know, good luck.
Already at it.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, fascinating as well with the return of the away fans, that they then get that result as well.
This is it. I mean,
I do think it was a bit of a smash and grab, because it, like, totally against the run of play. Great goal. Not Aggie Man. What was his name?
Iggy Man.
Okay, so close enough.
Yeah.
Great goal from him. Does this give Barry Ferguson a job?
Well, see, this is the thing. I think
it'd be a bad idea. They struggled against Kilmarnock the week before.
They beat us at Mirren as well, if memory serves.
Yes.
So there's big question marks. It's whether or not Barry and his team have the capability of building their squad over the summer. However, I've said this on a podcast many moons ago, the Rangers were desperately needing somebody who knew how to play or how to manage Rangers and how to, what it's like to be in that environment.
Yeah.
Because I've struggled for so long with so many European managers, or Caixinha was Mexican or something like that they never really fully grasped the atmosphere around that club. Brendan Rodgers does with Celtic, and Neil Lennon certainly did beforehand, but Ronnie Dyler didn't, and he struggled. So it's trying to find that character and personality.
You buy into the Rangers man theory?
It's a proven
the Rangers men ran the club into the ground, John.
And it will happen again. It is happening again. Look at the accounts. But
well, exactly. The current running of the club is not going all that spectacularly either.
Nevertheless, have a Rangers man and enjoy the ride.
Well, I mean, that's exactly what they did. Was they got every single Rangers man they could possibly get their hands on to put into that management team.
There was literally no one else left at BBC Scotland.
Well, that's a good point. That is a good point. Yeah, I'll be interested to see. He speaks very passionately. I think he speaks very honestly about what he's doing with the team, what he expects from the team. I think the Rangers fans will respond to that. I think the players will respond to that as well. We are probably going to see a bit of a different squad after the summer. I know that I think Czerny's been quite vocal about going back to wherever he's on loan from or something like that.
Blimey, I don't know, because he has been one of their best players.
Yeah.
He's extremely one-footed, but he is one of their best players.
All footballers are these days. See what every time they blimmin' dribble, one foot.
And it's all on the outside of the foot to try and turn, and that's nonsense.
Should he be on the park for the rest of the season is my question, John.
Well,
after the water bottle squirting of to fans.
Extremely funny. What also made that was Barry Ferguson picking up a random football beside him and kissing it.
What's he up to with that? What is he up to with that?
That was the most enjoyable thing about watching that game, was every time something was happening, the Sky cameras were cutting to Barry on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And it was just the faces he was pulling, the antics. He didn't know what to do with himself. I was tremendously funny.
Who are the commentators?
That was the usual guys, David Provan, Scott Arfield, and...
Was that Scott Arfield?
Chris Sutton, I think.
Oh, right. I did not recognise Scott Arfield's voice.
It's quite a kind of high pitched, it's maybe a bit harsh, but...
That was quite a big game to put him into, I thought. I always like Chris Sutton. He's good. It must be very difficult in these moments to be unbiased and just acknowledge it's a good goal and things like that.
I think so. I think, to be fair to the two of them, again, as you say, I'm quite a fan of Chris Sutton as well. I think he's antagonistic enough without really properly crossing the line.
Yeah.
And he's got Chris Boyd's number every day, which is even better. I thought Arfield was actually quite good in comms as well.
Okay.
Falker bias, obviously, but
yes.
He sounded kind of enthusiastic and passionate about the game.
Oh,
he was really involved in it.
Yeah.
You get a lot of kind of co-comms now that are just dry. He had a bit of kind of character about him. He's a kind of budget Ali McCoy, so to speak.
Well, this is all you can hope for Sky. So yeah, big win for Rangers. They'll be buzzing about that. That'll hopefully carry through in Europe. There'll be one more Old Firm after the split as well. Again, winning that gives you a bit of momentum into next season and gives you some bragging rights as well. Are they playing each other? No, they're out of the cup, aren't they?
Yes, aye. So the Rangers were put out by Queen's Park.
Not to remind anyone.
How could you forget?
Okay. I was about to say,
and then Queen's Park going and sack Callum Davidson a few weeks later.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
I don't know, Barry Nicholson was the assistant manager there, former Aberdeen midfielder. Yeah. I think played for Kelly for a wee while as well, something like that. What was it, 80, 90 Celtic fans were rejected, not allowed entry to the grounds,
kettled,
which has angered some. Where do you stand on this?
I don't know I don't know too much of the backstory beyond all the kind of ultras comments, statements across the country, because I'm pretty confident some Rangers fans were also in the same predicament.
Okay.
Because there has to be balance in all this.
Yes.
Police can't be seen to be heckling one without the other. It's a funny one. It's kind of policing without consent a little bit, which is a bit kind of uncalled for. Without, again, it's kind of reading one side of the story, in that people were refusing to kind of show their faces or refusing to show ID to leave the kettle or whatever. Now, if you have nothing to hide and you've got nothing to worry about,
what's the problem?
But then, are you just kind of bending over to them in that scenario? Like, why do you have to do that? You know, it's a funny one. It's a really difficult one to kind of square off. If you've got something to hide, then obviously you're not going to do it. Or are you doing it as a means for the collective? And it's us against them in terms of it's the groups against the police. I don't know, but I just found that a bit strange and quite heavy-handed with the police to be that explicit. Like, why not kind of let them in and then huckle them out? Or is that too difficult?
It's probably a harder thing.
Similarly, if you know there's identified individuals who have broken whatever rule, law, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, why are they even there in the first place? Why aren't the police removing them before it gets to that stage? And then the rest of them who haven't done anything wrong, who are there in good faith, can just carry on about their normal business.
Yeah.
That's kind of maybe poor intelligence on their part. It's a sad state of affairs all over. Like, I think it's poorly handled. It's been poorly sort of orchestrated, or certainly the way it's been perceived has just been handled so badly by the police, like really, really badly.
I think when you look at it was the behaviour of the Cup final last time through Glasgow and stuff like that was pretty bad.
It's a shambles, but again, I find it hard to believe that the police, or if it's like council workers or whoever, don't very quickly realise, there's like 70 like they're amassed people with like Santa hats on running through the East End, and very quickly stamping that out. I mean, if you're kettling them at that stage, fine, because you know they've done something wrong, you've got it on camera.
Yeah.
But if they've not done anything wrong at that particular moment, you've got no basis to do what you're doing.
Again, I think because of what they've seen, they're trying to be proactive instead of reactive. And again, I don't know why these people were turned away. It's not been well publicised. And again, I think Rangers got in trouble again this week as well for some sort of banner.
What was it?
End woke
foreign nonsense.
Something like that, aye.
It was a bit kind of like out the blue.
Yeah, I know.
Or the royal blue.
So they're all on notice. I think the Celtic fans have been in bother for a few European things this season. I think Rangers.
Well, Rangers are now, for
yes, sure. So they're all very much on notice, as it would seem.
When are they not?
Indeed.
Hey, Journey's getting investigated as well for the water bottle stuff.
Honestly, ban him for the rest of the season. Like, you do that in public, someone goes for you. Like, you know, and quite rightly, like, you remember, you ever seen those Netflix documentaries? There was one, I think it was called The Rumble in the Jungle? But I think it was the Seattle Supersonics in Detroit when there was like a mass brawl because one of the basketballers went into the crowd.
Oh, right.
And, you know, started something. I mean, I know it's just a water bottle. It could spark that.
Yeah, to be fair, it is one of these kind of powder keg fixtures.
Similarly, I saw this week that a Cardiff Devils player for the Elite Ice Hockey League has been suspended because they were chanting mean things about him. Ooh. So he responded to the crowd and made a little girl cry. That's fundamentally what I read happened. So he's been suspended by the club indefinitely. So he's maybe picked the wrong person to go after in that particular situation. But yeah, that was a very dangerous, very childish and immature thing to do. Maybe.
It's
definitely.
Well, okay, fair enough.
A fan does that, they are not walking back into Celtic Park for the rest of the season.
Aye, to be fair, if I'd been the other way around, if a fan had done that to Tierney, the police would have been like lynching about.
Exactly.
No question about it.
Exactly.
But it's still funny. That will go down as like Scottish football heritage.
Well, I'd be very disappointed. And I'm sad that people didn't react stronger so that, you know, leads to something possibly happening again. Yeah, I did mention briefly whilst we're here that it's sort of compared to the Liverpool game and the Newcastle game. You are a Newcastle fan.
Well,
are you not a Newcastle?
Well, my English team is Charlton, but I have been to plenty of Newcastle games.
Sure, right, okay. I thought you'd be more excited about that than you were. The point I wanted to raise about that, though, was that they haven't won a trophy in 50 years.
Oh.
And they listed some of the, I think someone like Crystal Palace haven't won a trophy in like 160 years. Or something like that.
Oh, believe it, I was looking at this. It's Sheffield United in the top 2 leagues who have went the longest time without winning a trophy.
Right.
I'm sure it's them. I'm not going to break through Twitter to find it, but it's something like that.
That is an absolute tragedy of modern football.
Yes.
That nobody wins anything anymore. Nobody.
It's the same teams over and over again beyond one or two here and there. Oh, it's between kind of half a dozen teams usually that kind of win things. I certainly watched the game for the most part. I ended up having my Sunday tea over the last kind of 10 minutes of the game. So
the goal was scored.
So I missed the Liverpool goal, but you just had a feeling that Newcastle were going to do it this time.
Well, they've had the experience before, which I think helps a lot.
They've had a little bit of experience. That was what 2 years ago.
Man United.
It was Man United League Cup final. They'd obviously got put out the FA Cup. They're nowhere near winning the league. They thought, like, this is it. This is the moment. It just has to be.
Yeah.
And I think Liverpool were a wee bit flat. They'd obviously went right to the wire with PSG during midweek. It was
extra time as well, I suppose.
Penalties. So maybe that was on their mind. Their fans, however many of them are genuine Scousers, I've no idea, but their fans were quite flat versus what was in the kind of Newcastle end.
It's not as big a deal for them, unfortunately.
Well, this is it. It's a kind of they'll come off the back of that and be like, well, we've lost the Diddy Trophy. The real trophy is the league at the end of the season. Yeah,
which no one ever thought they would do.
Well, this is it. I mean, we aren't coming in. But for Newcastle, it was like the biggest thing. And sort of to be fair, the way that the kind of black and white right round the side of Wembley was absolutely amazing. They looked absolutely bright on the telly. You just had that feeling. And when Dan Burn scored, and you're like, right, this is it. They're going to do it. They just looked in control.
Again, that was a great cup performance from someone who really cared. It was the way he was like sprinting up the park after corners and stuff. He just had this like extra gear. And it is a shame that we don't have, occasions like that every week. But it had a real special feel about it. I'd like to see more people win more things more often, make it a little bit more interesting than just... Because, like, to be frank, if that was a Man City Liverpool final, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if it were up to me, particularly the English League, certainly the Scottish League Cup and the English League Cup, if you're in Europe that season, you do not play in the League Cup.
Okay. Yeah.
And that would open it up to
a few more teams.
Pretty much everyone else. I think that would be, yes, probably you would lose a little bit of TV revenue. Yes, you would lose a little bit of interest from the global audience. But it just opens it up to, particularly down in England, when there are so many big clubs, like have an opportunity to actually win something. Like maybe see, I don't know, take a pick. Like Birmingham City, who are doing really well in League One. Maybe going a bit of a run in the League Cup, and they could come up against.
I mean, they won
Leeds or something like that,
didn't they?
Certainly got to the final. I don't know if they won it.
I feel like they might have won it. Yes. So on that same level, you went on a ground hop round the East of Scotland League, the East Lothian League, the West Lothian League, the Lowland League,
a bit of a mix of the Lowland League and the East of Scotland.
Okay.
Yeah, we go from Wembley to Broadwood.
Yes. Yes. Well, yeah, I saw that picture and I was like, oh yeah, that is still actually in use.
I could believe it. That was last weekend. It was the Scottish Ground Hop 2025. This is, how can you describe it? Initially organised by a group of individuals who I think kind of live in South Wales, kind of Cardiff area.
All right, okay. So, not fixtures up here.
And then beyond that, there's obviously, it's kind of snowballed kind of year on year in terms of like just passive interest. So there's people all across England, probably Wales, maybe certainly in Scotland. These guys can interact with the Scottish Lowland League, and then they'll pick a regional league, and they'll say, look, we're going to come up, we can guarantee, or near enough guarantee, an extra 250 people in your gate. Do you mind rearranging your fixtures for this particular weekend? So this particular weekend, it was Cumbernauld Copes against Broxburn on the Friday night, so they had rearranged their fixture for that. I think their average attendance went for about 90 up to 320 odds.
Okay.
So good money for the club and all
Yeah.
the merchandise and all the sort of sales in terms of your teas, coffees, steak pies and all that.
Yep.
So I think they make a wee bit of money out of it, which is really good. The game itself, you've got Cumbernauld are third bottom, or they were third bottom, and then Broxburn were 5th or 6th in the league.
Mm-hmm.
You would never have known it. Cumbernauld won 2-0 in the end. Thought it was really quite an interesting game. Freezing cold, like unbelievably cold.
Okay.
And it's been about, I reckon, nearly 20 years since I was in Broadwood.
Okay.
I must have been in there, God, what season would that have been? 04-05, when Falkirk won the league, the old First Division.
Yeah.
And I remember being in there, and Cumbernauld Asda must have been opened, or they're doing a bit kind of promo at the game. And the guy, the kind of Asda store manager, wasn't Darren, too young for that. Came on the park, and he was trying to G up the Clyde supporters. And he was like, right, whatever, like, give me an A. All the Falkirk fans are going,
Dangerous.
Give me an S.
Oh, they're going for Tesco. Yeah, okay.
What's the spell?
Okay.
Tesco.
Oh,
And of
dear.
course, it's like basically 2-1 Falkirk to Clyde fans.
Yeah.
So, but I shambles that for that, the poor guy. It was tremendously funny. I'll always remember that. I remember being there as well. It was the 03-04 season, and it was between, I think it was Clyde and Inverness to win the league.
Inverness, who are they?
Inverness, aye.
Exactly.
Before they kind of end up in some kind of Phoenix club. So it was between the two of them. I think Inverness won the league in the end, but it was close that Clyde were going to do it. And at that point, I believe the 10,000 all-seater stadium requirement was in place.
Okay.
So Clyde had actually laid the groundwork effectively to put in a new stand if they had got promoted. That obviously never happened, and it was just this massive kind of grey building.
Yep.
Which I think is a sports complex inside.
Oh, well,
So,
something.
We were different, but I was a kind of weird nostalgic kind of moment
Uh-huh.
at Clyde, or at Cumbernauld I suppose now. Then that takes us on to kind of Saturday. I'm waffling. 11am Saturday, Heart Hill.
That's got to be one of the earliest kick-off times
In
for
Scotland.
any semi-professional.
Same thing again though, a crowd over 300 at the game,
Okay.
which was just...
So did you recognise people from fixture to fixture?
I recognise people... Yes, I did actually recognise one or two from the night before.
Uh-huh.
Being my insular self,
I didn't
didn't particularly want to talk to anybody, didn't really want to interact, but I did recognise faces, and I recognised a few faces that I've kind of done, I've followed Instagram and stuff like that.
Okay.
So that was quite funny and interesting at the same time. It's like, oh yeah, and I'm in a few of their photos in the background.
Right, okay.
Some of the guys have been posting, like, oh yeah, that's my baldy head in the background.
I'm sure they'll appreciate
And
that.
it's like, Christ, is that that's what I look like for the back? It's just my posture's terrible. It's a bit strange. So I went to Heart Hill. Okay, it was a really poor game, really, in truth. But it's kind of like amateur football.
Yes.
So can't expect too much. But I got a nice cup of tea, and the weather was just terrific.
It was a lovely day, beautiful blue skies.
day. And then quickly jumped in the car, then went to West Calder against Kennaway Star Hearts. That was a 1:45 kick-off. That finished 4-3 to West Calder, so a lot more goals.
Lots of goals, yeah.
Same kind of amateur level. I mean, we're talking, this is the East of Scotland 2nd Division, so it's the 8th tier on the pyramid or something like that.
Right.
So it's really kind of down there.
Yeah.
I've got to admit, at this point, I was kind of mentally checked out.
You were flagging
I
a
was
wee
kind
bit.
of flagging a little bit. I'd kind of done the third game. Just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling all that great anyway.
That's a lot. Like, it's
a lot to watch.
270 minutes in the space of 2 days.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, if I'd been feeling a wee bit better, the biggest problem I had, I suppose, mental health issues. Usually when I go to these things, like I stick on podcasts or
Okay.
music and stuff like that, and I just drift away and I just watch the game.
Uh-huh.
Zen. It's my kind of way to just relax.
Yeah.
I was so tensed up, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because there was loads of people around me, but I just couldn't concentrate on anything. I couldn't concentrate on the podcast. I'm listening about the rest of history, talking about Leopold II in the Congo, which is really quite a dark subject when you're watching West Calder against.
I thought you had like sports sound on or something like that when I was imagining podcasts, but okay.
So that really kind of put me over the edge.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up listening to sports sound when the Falkirk game kicked off.
Look at us.
And at that point, it was instant regret about not going to Hampden and watching the Falkirk game instead.
Oh, right, okay. So that made things even worse.
That really put the tin lid in it for me. I thought, nah, I've just made such a mess of this today. I could have went to Harthill and then I could have went to Hampden, but no, I decided to go to bloody West Calder to watch what was actually, to be fair, like
a good game,
entertaining game, 4-3. But Falkirk are scudding Queen's Park 4-0 at Hampden in a massive title race. And I'm not there to see it. And it just, that kind of stuck in my throat a bit. And I thought, nah, I'm going home. I'm going to get my tea and go to my bed.
Quite right.
But I enjoyed it. There was two other games after that I could have went to.
There were Albion Rovers at like 7:45.
Aye, Albion Rovers bonus.
On a Saturday night. And I was like, what?
But I mean, the thing is, so if you had started doing the Cumbernauld game and you were like, right, I'm going to do all, like, there was a bus.
Yeah.
Certainly for the folk for Cardiff, they were on a bus. So they were doing all games. The 4 games you were going to.
That's heavy going. That is dedication.
It was a Bathgate. It was the 3rd game. Albion Rovers and Coatbridge, 4th game. And then they were going to Linton Hotspur on the Sunday, which is in West. Where did we go? West Linton?
West Linton?
Aye.
What the heck is there even a team?
Why? It's a village.
In a place as small as that, like.
It's the size of Skinflix if you're for the kind of Falkirk area, you're no Skinflix.
Yeah, that's the comparison that everyone will understand.
It's the proverbial one-horse town, which I appreciate after our friend Laura has no idea what a one-horse town is.
Oh, really?
Do you know what a one-horse town is?
No, what's a one-horse town?
It's Skinflix.
What does that mean? That they had one horse there back in the day?
Yeah, it's just a tiny wee village.
All right, okay. I think you can infer it from context, but yeah. Well, you gave it a go. You got lots of good pictures.
I got lots of good pictures. I got 3 new pin badges, which was the absolute pinnacle of the whole thing.
Buzzing. Pinnacle. I see what you've done there.
That was a kind of very camp thing for us to do there.
Yeah, hopefully you weren't watching the video episode for that. And there are lots of good pictures on the @Sofamanager Instagram. Documenting your journey. And again, think of the footballogy points that you will have accrued doing these 3 different fixtures.
Oh, this is it. I think I'm up to. I'm nearly at 50 games for this season.
That is mental.
It's a bit scary.
Wait a minute. How many did you do last year?
So calendar year last year I did 50. I think it was bang on 50 actually.
So you're like already.
No. So it's like so you can do it like calendar year or like a football season year.
Alright, okay.
So 24, 25 seasons, so it won't be really kind of thinking about it.
Yep.
It's right there for my stats. There we go.
He's looking up his phone, his favourite app.
It is my favourite app. I think I'm on this more than I'm on anything else. So what, 2025? Oh, sorry, 24, 25. Don't know why I did that. But yeah. 24, 25 season, I've been to 43 games.
There you go.
Seen Falkirk 27 of those games.
The best time to see them.
140 goals.
That'll never happen again. On that note, lots going on in the Scottish Championship this week. Neil Lennon has been appointed Dunfermline manager after Michael Tidzer's short spell.
Yes.
That's a pretty good name for them, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a deal till the end of the season.
Right.
Which I was thinking about this before I came over to the studio. I find this a really bizarre move. Like for Neil Lennon, you know, his kind of footballing CV at the moment isn't that great. Certainly over the last.
He had an all right stint with Hibernian.
He had a decent stint with Hibernian. He did okay with Celtic in that circumstance. He went abroad. I forget where it was. Was it
Turkey
Cyprus?
or Cyprus maybe? Yeah.
Didn't
go well there.
Didn't go particularly well there. And I can't remember if he's had an appointment since. But to then take Dunfermline, which is a very precarious position,
difficult job.
If you're effectively in charge when they get relegated, whether it's playoffs or finishing 10th, again, that's not going to look good on him if he's serious about kind of continuing his managerial career. I find that bizarre.
It sunk Yogi with like Ayr United years ago, didn't it?
What was Dunfermline and Wraith? Did he really get Inverness? I don't think he was there at that time, but he was involved in that as well. I just found that, for Neil Lennon's perspective,
bizarre
I found
choice
that a bit strange. I mean, if he saves them, it's a good opportunity for him next season if he wants to take the job going forward. From a Dunfermline point of view, again, he's probably commanding a fairly decent wage. You're going to take him over the next kind of couple of games after they've already paid for basically compensation to get Tidser and then pay him off.
And then the other manager they sacked before
and
him.
James McQuaig. So they've had a huge outlay, or comparatively speaking, they've had quite an outlay on managerial appointments and dismissals. And it seems quite a kind of high risk thing. I mean, it's almost to the point of, would you have not just kind of like hung on to Tidser? I mean, I know the football is horrendously bad, and yes, it is horrifically funny. Like,
the squad's like all right.
It's not.
I think it is.
Nah, I mean, I think on paper you could just about get through it. So kind of anecdotally watching them against Falkirk in the game a couple of weeks ago, and listening to the Terrace podcast.
Beat 1-0.
Oh, we should have won by so much more.
Yeah, but they didn't.
they have one player in Chris Kane who is a diving, cheating ball bag. But
that's what you need to win games.
That's what you need to win games. He would do really well at Livingston. if it was a club made for him, it was Livingston this season.
There you
he's
go,
just in the wrong club. He's a diving mean-yav, handballing as well. You know, he's their only player. He's their only outlet, and he's not a goal scorer really. They have nothing else behind him. I forget.
They don't have Benedictus or something at centre. Who's the centre half?
Benedictus is centre back. Yeah, maybe.
He was good in the televised game I saw when they drew with Falkirk, like 2-2, 3-3, whatever that was.
That was 3-3 at Christmas.
3-3, aye. That was Tidser's first game, so these are always a bit of a bounce.
Bit of a bounce in that one for sure. But I just kind of particularly watching that squad in that game. They were all shouting at each other. They were all
it's not good vibes.
Blaming each other for mistakes, and you're thinking, right, this is obviously like it's a bad environment. And again, if you're putting Neil Lennon into that environment, Neil Lennon's a very kind of testy character.
Yeah.
He's either going to get, it's really going to go one or two ways. It's going to be a really kind of polar reaction, whether people buy into his ethos, his coaching technique, or they're going to be put off even more. Because all these guys are youngsters out on loan to Dunfermline that come the 31st of May, whenever their contract's up,
cheerio.
Is of absolutely no consequence to these guys. This has all the hallmarks of like basically Falkirk's relegation and continued disaster through League One. This has, I mean, I kind of the first thing that popped into my head was like, this is a bit like Falkirk signing Lee Griffiths just to finish in the top 4.
Oh my gosh, remember that? Aye.
It has that kind of like last throw of the dice kind of feel about it.
They're desperately trying to save.
They're desperate, absolutely desperate, and understandably.
They're not last. No,
Airdrie are last with 6. There's 6 points between them and Airdrie. And then
so really what they're looking like is surviving some playoffs. And the League One playoffs are harder because you go in...
So they'll play 4th, which will be someone like Stennismuir.
Well, we shall wait and see. It's always interesting. These guys, the football always brings them back, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like Scott Brown at Ayr United was quite a surprise to me as well. Like, I thought he would have hung on for a bigger job than that, but nonetheless. I was just checking just there because the school had been offered tickets to the Livingston Queen's Park Cup final.
Oh, the Falkirk Stadium.
At the Falkirk Stadium, yes, which was quite surprising that they'd offer tickets because...
I heard that they've only sold like 1,000 or something like that.
But like,
and there's a lot of, like they've given out just as much to schools. I think their home attendances, you're probably actually going to get less people at this than your regular home gate, probably. Yeah, probably.
And this is a bit of a distraction for them, really. But a cup is a cup, and it's definitely good to win things. I don't remember them having much success in this cup in recent history, because again, they've been in the Premiership for such a long time. So it'll be interested how they get on there. But themselves and Ayr United continue to fumble, whilst Falkirk are looking fairly consistent.
Yeah, to be fair.
Did Ayr come back to get like 3-3, or did they win 4-3 or something like that?
So they drew 3-3, and Livingston drew, Ayr got beat.
Right, okay.
Yep. Yes, that's correct, because Livingston away to Airdrie, and Morton beat Ayr just Saturday there. Yes, that's correct. I think I'm correct. Christ knows.
So they're putting in the foundations for the new stand, John, are they?
Well, maybe. It is the really kind of interesting thing, because particularly taking the Livingston and Airdrie kind of games. So Falkirk, I wouldn't say brushed aside the Airdrie comfortably, but they got the result in the end.
Yes. And Airdrie have been a bit of a stinker for them in the recent past.
Aye, absolutely. And they had a bit of kind of uptick in form. I mean, like they sense a bit of kind of opportunity to finish 9th. It's kind of, they've got literally nothing to lose. They can go hell for leather in every game at the end of the season. We just about weathered that storm to kind of get the 3 points. We were lucky to get the second goal when we did. But for them to get a point off of Livingston kind of shows the Livingston mentality is maybe not quite as strong as what we are. And when you listen to David Martindale's post-match interviews over the last couple of weeks, yeah, he's rattled. You can see it. He is obsessed with Falkirk right now. Despite him saying, I'm not interested in Falkirk.
He's very obsessed.
Is the absolute telltale word. You absolutely are, mate. Like,
but that's the yardstick. And the problem they have is that none of those teams, apart from Partick, and even Partick will still have to keep their foot on the gas a wee bit because...
Well, top four is not guaranteed. Like,
no, I think they play Wraith on telly tonight.
Yes, yep.
And if Wraith, I think they're on 37, Partick Thistle are on 44. If Wraith win that game,
that is all to play for.
Go 40 and 44, then you're looking at that. So nobody's going to be particularly well rested for these playoff matches.
It's going to be right down to the wire across the board.
It's going to actually be a really interesting playoff sequence this year. Until they get to the Premiership team, which is going to be a total question mark.
Yeah.
Likely Ross County still, or Dundee, or...
I think it'll be a mix between Kelly, Dundee, and St Johnstone, probably.
Any one of them. But yeah, I honestly thought at this time of season, Livy in particular, not necessarily Ayr, would ramp up and really start to say, right, this is what we're actually capable of, and go on a really strong run. They have not done that.
Nope.
And I said to you earlier, if Falkirk had actually beaten Ayr United once more and beaten Livingston this season, which again they have the chance to next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, we can Tuesday. Yep.
In
fact, I think it's actually this Tuesday coming up.
There you go. So I think that's at the Ammonvale again, isn't it?
Yeah. It is a very much a do not lose this fixture kind of job for Falkirk.
Yes. Which they have done every time this season. The Falkirk Stadium game in particular was a very frustrating one.
These games always turn into like a game of attrition. Livingston are tremendous at the dark arts, and Falkirk gets suckered into this every single time, and it's incredibly infuriating, and it will happen again, and it's whether or not this time round we just start to play our own game and don't get suckered into this kind of physical battle.
See, they don't need to push this. If they walk away with this game with a draw,
also it's brilliant. I mean, it's as good a win as a win, to be honest.
Exactly.
It's one less game that they can make up on 3 points on us.
Yep.
I think we need 13 points to win the league between now and the end of the season. That's the target.
Quite a lot.
So four home games against 4 teams in the bottom half of the league.
Okay.
Starting with Airdrie.
Big ticket sales, I believe, as well.
Pretty much every home game's now sold out. They're opening up the north stand, which is usually the away stand.
Fans, okay.
For away fans. So we've got Hamilton, Airdrie, we must have Morton, and I think it's Wraith is the 4 home games.
Mm-hmm.
Away to Partick, away to Ayr, away to Livingston, and someone else.
Well, ball's in their court. It's looking good at the moment. Failing massive capitulation, which I actually don't see happening.
Nah, you win the 4 home games, we're done.
We'll win. Wow. And for the first time since
Livingston, back to back.
Yeah, I know, but for the first time back in the Premiership, first time back in a FIFA game for
15 years.
It's a generational thing, actually, to a lot of people.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, it'll be 09-10 they got relegated. I was there for that.
Mm-hmm.
Christ, still see it. You can still see the ball coming over Ryan Flynn's shoulder and them blazing over the bar.
Was that Kilmarnock?
Aye.
Kilmarnock was the site of a few poor memories back in the day.
Sickening day. Watching my dad do 90-degree turns on the motorway coming home.
Aye.
Jeez. He was so angry.
Not a good time to drive.
No, it definitely wasn't.
No.
Because you got relatives in your last would be parked in your auntie's driveway or something.
Yeah. Well, I think that was the playoff game.
No, that was the. Oh, that was the playoff game.
That was the playoff game. So I remember watching the league game at Rugby Park on Setanta.
Holy moly!
Yes, that's how long ago that was. Kids, it was basically
Premier Sports. No wait, Viaplay. No wait, is it Premier Sports again?
Well, yeah, but the closest thing to it was probably Premier Sports, but they were a little bit less subscribing. They were sort of at that time trying to push Sky and things like that.
Yes, you're right.
Because there was Setanta Sports once, the Setanta Sports. They were a huge supporter of Scottish football. That was a big deal.
Oh, huge money. God, when they went bust, they nearly burned down half the league.
So yeah, I do remember watching the Flynn thing So yeah, we'll be interested to see how it go. It would be really interesting to see them in the Premiership again. I would be fascinated to see what they would do in the summer.
Yes, yeah.
And it's been really interesting to see actually what a well-run Falkirk club is capable of, because these last 2 years they've just been.
It's clicked for them for sure. For once they've got a manager in place who, again, I keep saying it, is experienced and knows the league, knows how to build a team.
So I think
play a style of football.
We've been off air as well. Was it 4-year deal?
A 4-year deal up to 2029. Yeah, I'm a little bit kind of worried about that.
But does that mean that he gets to leave on his own terms?
Probably. My speculation is based on absolutely nothing but thought is, yes, it's a deal up to 2029. Now that would take him up to the age of 67, something like that. Basically state pension age.
Yes.
I would imagine at any point during the next kind of 4 years, he would move into a director of football role.
Okay.
Along with Paul Smith, who had a heart attack actually while we've been off air.
Yes.
So it's amazing to see him in the dugout though. I mean, anything else. That's amazing.
He would return as
absolutely
madness.
Amazing.
Not madness, but wonderful.
That is
good news.
Absolutely. It just shows you how things can turn in an instant. It's quite scary.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see these kind of guys moving into a kind of, like I say, a director of football role, something that kind of supports the board.
Yep.
Moving forward and having that kind of transition phase. And to be honest, I'm all for that, because I think he's got a really good eye for a player. A really, really good eye for a player, and he's got a style of football that he's obviously mirrored off Brendan Rodgers, having kind of sort of coached with him, that to kind of bring through, whether it's somebody like Scott Arfield, who has very openly spoke about being a manager in the future. So that's maybe a possibility. Maybe that's the reason why he's came back as much as anything else.
Having a plan would be wonderful, because no team in Scottish football these days really has done this.
There's very little contingency. Now, of course, things can like turn in an instant.
Oh, totally, yeah.
You know, but it's nice to have some kind of, like you say, a loose plan that in theory will work. And I would hope that would be the case, because I would hate to see McGlynn leave on bad terms, and that we've been beaten again, and it's November, and you know you're
heading back to the Championship again.
Yeah, I mean you're trudging back for Fir Park after being beaten 3-0, and people are kind of crying for the knives and all that kind of thing. You know, I would hate for that to happen.
Yep.
Something.
It was a magnet. Don't worry.
Okay, so there's a ghost in your room.
Right. The ghost of John McGlynn. Stop speaking ill of me. Yes.
We'll see what happens. It's all positive. It's all moving in the right direction.
Indeed. And again, look at how the Falkirk fans have responded to it. Huge numbers and things like that, which is nothing but fantastic for the club. And again, I have no doubt that getting a season ticket for next year, if they do make the Premiership, or when they make the Premiership, will be just as difficult as it was, this year.
Certainly for
the South Stand.
For the South Stand, they were actually talking about the Falkirk basically offer under 12s free season tickets.
What?
Yeah.
What? Did they ever do that back in our day?
No, I had to pay for mine.
I was about to say,
yeah, absolutely. So under 12s go free to Falkirk games. I think that's probably what's been helping over, because they've been running this scheme for a long, long time.
Right.
That they're actually seeing the reward for it now, because there is a lot of kind of younger people who are now over 12 coming to Falkirk games, which is amazing. But they're kind of talking about maybe curtailing that or stopping it in the South Stand, because there is so much demand, and these under 12 season tickets aren't being used
every week.
For near enough every week. I think it's like 40%.
Yeah, there's a lot of empty seats still.
Yeah,
which is twofold for how people are cramming into one side of it.
I'm kind of sit where we sit. I mean, I don't mind it, because I hate being like squished in, but that's just me. I'm no one for sort of cramped spaces.
You love hearing the chat from all the experts around you, John, don't you?
It is. There's a few of them that are kind of need to retire to the main standing. But
our takes are spot on.
Oh, absolutely.
All the time.
It's gospel.
Okay, take your word for it.
But it's looking good.
Good. Very exciting. Is there anything else I forgot to cover this week?
I don't think there's been too much, unless you want to talk about John Spinney's alcohol ban.
What's he banning the alcohol for?
Continuing to... I cannot remember who had suggested it's time that alcohol is returned to Scottish football.
Oh.
I'm neither here nor there about it. But John Swinney's basically said no, so
yeah, I think people with a bit of booze in them can be very annoying. I think, did you not go to the Bonnie Rig game when people were boozing and the toilets were just absolute carnage?
Oof,
it was like one of the playoff games or something like that.
I mean, certainly Bonnie Rig was not equipped at all in any capacity for that playoff game.
Yeah.
But I went to the social club before it, had a few pints.
But then we've been to some Scotland games with some people absolutely blazed off their face, and it's annoying.
Yes, it's not great for the wider spectator. I mean, I can only compare it to going to games in England in particular.
Yes.
Because it's the closest. Oh, in Germany, I suppose it's a different culture in Germany, but in England, as we talked about it in the past, you can buy a pint before the game and you can buy a pint at half time.
Yes.
You cannot take it onto the terrace, and
yep,
you can only consume it in the concourse. To be honest, that is as far as I would take it in Scottish football, and even then, I would be reluctant to have it in any kind of capacity.
The pints are so mammothly expensive, though.
Yeah, but so that's money for the club, so okay, I'm okay for that. But
I'm still curious, by the way, as to how these ones that fill up from the lower, like you put it down and it fills up from the bottom.
I
still don't comprehend how that works.
It's a mystery.
It's not a mystery, and I've never looked into it, but because I remember the first place I saw it was Tottenham. Had them put in, and I was like, how does it engage and disengage, and like, is this not more expensive for everybody? And like, yeah, so I'm still curious as to if anyone knows of that machine locally, let us know. I did see some self-serve Guinness at what was the horse race recently? Cheltenham. By the way, I've never heard of Cheltenham, but all people have been talking about for the last week has been Cheltenham.
You've never heard of Cheltenham?
Never heard of Cheltenham.
Like ever?
Never.
My best memory. Should I talk about it? Yeah, probably should.
Your best friend?
No, my best. One of my favourite memories.
Gary, you hearing this? Darren, you hearing this?
Sorry, guys. My favourite memory working at Transact was the first Cheltenham week that I worked, because it was during tax year end.
Okay.
So you would be like just constant work,
spraffing your bonuses
right up to about 1:20, and then the first race would go off. Everybody would stop for 10 minutes watching their phone.
Very professional. Very professional.
You could just like look up onto the floor, and you just see all the guys' heads going down and watching the race and come back on and starting again. Really, really funny.
I'm guessing it's the first big meeting of the year.
It's probably the biggest meeting of the year as well. Although they're not kind of talking about
not bigger than the Grand National and things.
No, well, certainly as a week-long event, it's bigger than the Grand National. Cheltenham Gold Cup to a horse racing enthusiast is more important than the Grand National. It was bigger than the Grand National.
All right. Used to be. Never heard of it. Have now.
But they've actually seen their attendances drop.
I heard.
From last year, and they're putting it down to, well, certainly price, but alcohol and the kind of organised fights and stuff like that have been happening quite a lot of horse racing.
Oh, right, okay.
So it's beginning to kind of put off.
That's Peaky Blinders' fault, though, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, they have very much encouraged the Dapper Dan.
The plonkers.
Yeah. But yeah, sorry.
I've seen the picture of the girl who has the binoculars that doubles as a flask.
Yeah.
So you like unscrew one of the eye. I was like, oh, that's very clever. Yeah. I don't think I've ever had a pint at a football game, because we've been to some Charlton games where you could. Mm-hmm. I think you guys had pints at Carlisle, which looked dreadful.
They were awful, awful pints. You pay like £6 for a flat pint of Foster.
Yeah.
It's not enjoyable.
Yeah. I don't think we miss it.
I don't know. We don't really drink anyway, so we're not the crowd to really talk about it. But we would be the kind of spectator on the side, impacted by whatever decision.
And again, if you're boozed up and Cherny sprays you with water,
you're on the park.
Yep.
Or you're throwing a tin at them.
Water fight. Sponsored by Foster's. And then, as I said to you earlier, Scottish football gets cancelled for eternity. Done.
You can imagine somebody like he sprays water at you and you throw a £15 pint of like flat beer and Moretti over them. Like.
Aye. Disaster. Anyway, I think that about rounds us off for this week's episode. So thank you for listening from myself, Paul.
Yeah, cheers guys, all the best.
And we'll hopefully see you in the next couple of weeks after a good Scotland result. So fingers crossed. Anyway, have a good evening, a good afternoon, and a good morning. Goodbye.